Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New Year Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode we had the first round of the playoffs, and unfortunately we lost in a hard-fought 7 games with the Montreal Canadiens, and it was actually a pretty close series for the most part. I think we easily could have found ourselves in round 2, but we just had a little bit of bad luck. Because as you can see, every single loss that we had in that first round were only by 1 goal. We lost 3-2 in game 1, 4-3 in game 2, then we lost 3-2 in game 4, so we were down 3-1 at that point, so we managed to rally back to a game 7 where we lost in overtime. So I think for the most part it was a really good series for our team, but obviously there's just a couple of things that needed to do a lot better. Like our penalty kill I think wasn't the best in that first round, and that might have been the difference in terms of us making it to the next round and not. If we actually go to team stats, I could probably take a look at that. So let's go do that. Because I honestly don't even know how good our penalty kill was in that first round matchup. I don't think it was good though, if I'm not mistaken. So if we go to Eastern Conference here and we sort by wins here, you can see technically, if we go to us here, we are actually scoring more goals per game than the Montreal Canadiens were. So we just had a little bit of bad luck. We scored more goals than them. We allowed less goals than they did. Yet we still lost the series just because we won. When we won our games, we scored 5 or more goals. So I think that made a difference. Our power play wasn't really good also, so that could have been definitely a factor in that first round loss. We were 1 for 10. Meanwhile, they were 6 for 20. So yeah, our penalty kill was only 70%, which is not very good. So our special teams definitely failed us. So hopefully next season and beyond that, we can have a bit better special teams to help us in the playoffs. Because if our special teams do good and we do good in like 5-on-5, we should be able to find ourselves into stuff like the second round and beyond that too. So I mean, Montreal was a tough team, and they did have a really good season, so it makes sense that they would beat us, but definitely sucks to go out in round 1 after we technically just won the Metropolitan Division. But anyways, before we get into seeing who ends up winning the Stanley Cup and also getting to the draft and re-sign stage, let's get into your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into all of that. So the first comment is from Nick Bucker-Barons OC, who says, darn, time to focus on the offseason. And yes, sir, it's going to be a lot of work to do, I think, this offseason, because obviously we are probably going to have to let go of some people. Like, I'm thinking we're probably going to lean towards letting go of, like, Anders Lee, for instance, to save up some cap space. Like, I don't know how much cap space we're going to have on our team going into next season, so I really hope that I could obviously get back all the players that I want to. So maybe bringing back Bjorkstrand, because Bjorkstrand was fantastic with that top line. Obviously trying to get Noah Dobson signed on a good little contract. Like, it's definitely going to be a tough episode in terms of like negotiating with the players and all that. With the salary cap situation we have at the moment. But obviously we want to try and contend next year, so we kind of want to keep the team as much together as possible while making a little bit of changes. Like, I think letting go of Anders Lee, like I said, is a good idea because, for instance, Bjorkstrand is younger. He was producing a lot better. I think he could easily take that top line spot still. I think Anton Ferndell's getting closer to being a second line forward, so I think he could jump up into the second line left wing spot where Anders Lee kind of was. So I think we should be able to make some adjustments to our team while staying within the cap. But obviously, I'm kind of scared about what Noah Dobson is going to be asking for when we get to re-signing everybody. So going to definitely be a little bit of a juggle, but hopefully we could maintain our team for next season and then make the playoffs again next year. The next comment is from San Otaku. Says, disappointing but not entirely unexpected. Depending on how you can wrangle the salary cap, you should be able to get one more shot at the prize. While Lee is asking for a cheap contract, I think you should focus your efforts on trying to get Bjorkstrand back. In the draft, that goalie looks really solid, and you could use a potentially elite prospect there. However, it's a bit of a risk as he may be ready before Sorokin's contract expires. Up to you if you want him or the offensive defenseman you also pinned. So he's saying that we could go for the elite goalie because obviously we need elite goalies, but he might be make the NHL before Sorokin's contract expires. So maybe it's not really worth it in that sense. I do already also have an elite goalie prospect too, so it does make my choice maybe a bit more clear that we go for the offensive defenseman I pinned, which I honestly don't remember who that is. Oh, Pratt. Yeah, Zachary Pratt honestly should be a good option. Like, he's 2 years out apparently. Like, I don't know if he's a top 4 or a low lead. I feel like he's probably a top 4, but to be 2 years out and have these good type of attributes, like, I think that would be a nice little selection. Solovyov does look good too, and he's probably a high elite goaltender since he's projected to go first round, or he could be a medium elite. The only problem with that is he would be ready before Sorokin is back, or Sorokin's contract is done. So, do we want to take a chance on a good goaltender prospect that could wean Sorokin out of the lineup, or do we want to take the defenseman? Like, I feel like having some offense from the back end isn't a bad idea. If I could somehow get both of them, it would be nice, but I don't know if there is a way. We might have to be able to try and find a way to make a trade for a second rounder, because at the moment we have a first. We do not have a second or third. So if I use our pick to take Solovyov and I trade away somebody to get a second round pick, that could be something we do. In that way, we could free up some cap space. So maybe we'll look into that. I would really like to have both these guys, so we might look to do that. If we can't do that, we might end up just going with one or the other. And last and final comment is from Michael Dosius. His thought defense played well along with goaltending, just don't have the shots on goal, and offense need to boost the shots and scoring next season for a playoff run. And yeah, I think that's basically what we need to lean towards doing, is boosting our offense for sure. Like, we had some good guys. Obviously, our top line did well last season, but obviously the depth scoring needs to probably find a way to improve, especially in the postseason. I don't think it was terrible, the offense, but obviously our power play wasn't good, so to get those special teams better, I think is definitely a top priority of our team. So anyways, there is that, and I think we're ready to probably hop into the draft. Now, I do actually want to take a look at our contracts first and foremost, see if there's a player I could trade away maybe for a second round pick. And that way we could potentially get both of those guys. I guess it depends on what team is available. Because Anders Lee is going to be coming off the board. He's just going to be going to free agency because I don't think anybody would trade for his rights. Just trying to think who has 2 years left that we could maybe move out from. Maybe on somebody on the defensive side of things. There is the chance we could move somebody like Pellick or something like that, but I don't really know. Also, I think it was the AI that basically sent out these contract extensions when I didn't even do that, so kind of confused on that, but trying to think of what we want to do to try and get ourselves that second rounder. Technically, Varlamov could probably net us a second rounder, but at the same time, do we have a goalie that could replace him? Maybe with Skarek, but I don't really know if I would want Skarek as a backup. I don't really know if there's anybody I could trade to get a second rounder, to be honest. Trying to think, because of the Zizekas probably can't get us a second rounder, I don't think. Pageau's opinion free agent. Yeah, it might be kind of tough to get a second round pick unless I trade away next year's second to get this year's second. I mean, I could do that if I want to get both prospects, but anyways, there's that. Let's simulate up to the draft and find out who ends up winning the Stanley Cup. We'll also take a look at the awards, of course, but let's see who ends up winning the Stanley Cup in year number 2. Hopefully the Habs don't go too far after they knocked us out. But it's likely, I feel like it's likely going to be an Atlantic Division team that wins the Cup because the Atlantic Division is pretty stacked, as you would expect, with how good all these teams are in it at this point in time. St. Louis fires their coach in the playoffs, which is interesting. And the Colorado Avalanche have won the Stanley Cup in year number 2. Cleveland wins the Calder Cup. So Colorado winning another Stanley Cup. 45 points from Nathan MacKinnon in the playoffs. Jesus, that's a lot of points. And they might have actually played Montreal in the Cup Finals. Yeah, they did. Because Suzuki, look at that. Suzuki played 26 playoff games. So we lost to the best team in the Eastern Conference. So, hey, at least it shows that we were not far off maybe of going to a Cup Finals in that sense. But there's the last game of the Stanley Cup Finals. Damn. So shout out to Colorado. They won, I guess, in 5 games. Actually, no, it must have been 7 games. Yeah, it must have been 7 games because the Habs are on 15 wins. It's underneath my face. But, yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting Cup Finals. Obviously, like the battle of Patrick Waugh, so to speak, even though technically Patrick Waugh would be our head coach in this universe, which is kind of funny. So there's that. Let's take a look at the other awards for the season. So in terms of awards, we saw that. And also the President's Trophy went to Colorado this season too, so they won both. Interesting. Individual awards, Nathan MacKinnon, the Art Ross, the Hart as well. Norris went to Quinn Hughes. Lady Byng going to Jack Hughes, so kind of interesting to see both Hughes brothers winning some awards. Matt Savoie won the Calder. Nathan McKinnon, the Conn Smythe. Sergei Bobrovsky, the Vezina. Stuart Skinner, the Jennings. Eric Chernak, the Masterton. LA's head coach wins the Jack Adams. Sidney Crosby to Selke for the second consecutive season. The Ted Lindsay going to McKinnon, and Matthews and McKinnon both sharing the Richard. So Nathan McKinnon had a huge year. Anybody interesting in the AHL win any awards? Not really for our team, it seems like, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. Now we got to continue to simulate up to this draft. Find out where we're drafting. Or actually not where we're drafting, just see who wins the lottery. So Washington has number 1. That's kind of interesting. Philadelphia number 2, Detroit, San Jose, and St. Louis. So I guess St. Louis must have just waited till the middle of the playoffs to randomly fire their coach, which is kind of interesting even though they missed the playoffs. So Calgary has a bunch of picks there. They have 7 and 8. Damn. Good for them. Good for them. All right. So, retirements, I don't think this is going to be affecting us too much, but I don't know if there would be anybody on our roster that retires. But in terms of forwards, the best player to retire is Nick Foligno. So, Foligno and Bonino going out the same year. That's kind of cool. But yeah, not a huge retirement class when Nick Foligno is the best guy. What about defensively? Anton Strawman, Ryan Ellis, Brendan Smith. Okay. Yeah, this is probably one of the weakest retirement groups I've seen. What about goalies? Dustin Tokarski. Okay, yeah, not a big retirement crop. All right. In terms of coach retirements, we did lose Rodney Belfort in Bridgeport, so an AHL coach. NHL-wise, we did not lose a single coach. Okay. And then Trevor Lewis is now a scout, so that's interesting. And draft interviews, we might as well go in and look at some draft interviews potentially. We know that there's 2 franchise players in this draft. It would be nice if we had first overall this year, but unfortunately, we went out in the first round instead. We could look at that goalie for a second. It's Solovyov. We still don't know for a fact if he's actually a high elite goalie or not, but I'm pretty sure if he's projected to go first round, there's a good chance he is a high elite goalie. Kolzig's probably also an elite goaltender. I don't know how good of an elite goalie, but he could also be a starter. I feel like this is going to be a high elite, medium elite, and then these guys could be starters and fringe starters, so that's basically how I think the goalies are going to go. Defensively, that guy that we pinned, that offensive defenseman, he's guaranteed to be medium 4. All right. So we at least know now a little bit more about him. He still looks pretty good, though, for a guy that's 2 years out. So I think Pratt would be very nice to have in the second round, obviously, if we could find a way to trade for a second round pick. And then Solovyov, I think we'll probably try and get first round if I could get a second round pick in via trade. Aside from that, is there anybody that I actually should interview or not? Because I don't know if there is any need to do any interviews here. Like, is there any guys that are like 3 bar low leads to ask about, maybe? Let's see. This guy's 3 bars low lead. Seth Osgood. I don't even know if I'd find out their potential guaranteed, though. If I interview him about his player type, maybe, but I don't think I'm going to do actually any draft interviews. I feel like they're not going to really tell us enough about these guys. So, anyways, there's that. Let's hop into the draft now and see if we can make a trade for a second round pick. So, technically, that second round guy that we want is supposed to go at 43rd round. So, we could take an early pick here. Detroit does want to move their pick, same as San Jose. So, there is people we can make moves with. So, Detroit, let me talk to you about your early second round selection. That's 34, so we don't even need to take such an early pick. Let me even see a little bit later than that, maybe. Maybe we could even take as early... Montreal might be even okay. Is that 43rd round? 41st. Yeah, that might be perfect, actually. It's originally Columbus's pick. What do you want, Montreal? Out of curiosity. You do want my 3rd rounder for next year. I don't actually have our 2nd rounder for next year either. I didn't even remember that. If I give you my 3rd rounder for next year and my 4th rounder for this year, would you take those? I feel like that's somewhat of a fair trade. Like, I mean, they're getting literally, they're moving back a lot of picks, but they'd get a 3rd round pick. So, I could always add to this, but I think this could be a fair offer. That way I don't have to give up anybody on our roster. Like, I don't think anybody on our roster is somebody that they would move. Like, we could move Romanov to them, but I'm not going to do that yet. He's too young. Gustafsson, and Dobson, no. Goalies, I mean, Kudobin's there, but he seems to be developing nicely. He's actually up to a 64. So, yeah, I think I'll offer a third and a fourth for the second rounder. That's too far off. Okay, what about if I threw you next year's, or do I have a third rounder this year? I don't, right? What about if I threw you a third rounder for 2028 as well? So 2 future third round picks for the second round pick, just because I want that defensive prospect. And then obviously I want to get that goalie in the first round. Let's see what happens. Rejected still, huh? So I'd have to give you up a future second, probably, my guess, by that standard. So we are literally going to be trading away another second round pick with this team. But if I get rid of that third then and gave you our fourth for this year, is that okay? So basically you get a future second still in the same round, and then you also get an extra fourth rounder tacked on. That's not accepted either, huh? All right. A little bit more work than I thought it would be. Let's do a second and a third then. Still rejected. Wow, okay. I feel like Montreal's trying to bite off a little bit more than I expected here. Huh. They probably want 2 second rounders by that logic, which is a lot to give up. So let me get away from Montreal here. Let's try some other team. That's in early second round. We have a lot of time to work with here. Let's go with San Jose instead. We could check on Detroit, but let's check San Jose first, since they're in the Western Conference. So if I gave you my second in 2028, and if I gave you my third rounder the next season instead, would you accept this? No. Do you have any interest in anything else on my team? No, I don't want to move any of those. And now we're getting a trade offer? Nope. We got the first overall selection. Washington getting their franchise sniper to replace Alex Ovechkin as they draft DeAndre Harris. Jeez, yeah, this guy's going to be really good. It's kind of crazy that they get lucky like that, where Ovechkin's like going to retire and they end up getting like the next great player, pretty much. 60 is his jersey number 2. That's kind of an interesting number. All right, let's go to San Jose again and see if we could work something out with them. Who else did they have interest in? No, that was there. Nobody important there. I mean, I could throw Lennox into a deal, but I don't really know if he's much value. Okay, this has a little bit more of a chance to become something. I do like Sam Bolduc. But I don't really know. I don't know if he would be worth moving in this type of a deal. Yeah, that second rounder has actually more value than I thought. Maybe I'll go to the Utah Hockey Club instead and see if we can make a deal with them. They actually have Ottawa's second rounder. So would you guys take a third rounder, a second rounder? I could easily add more to this, but I just want to see if I could find a way to get this defenseman. Even though it's quite close to close in value. It is close in value apparently here. So if I threw in my 7th rounder for next year as well, would you guys accept this? There we go. Okay, so we do get the 42nd overall pick this year. We threw a lot of picks at them just so we could get that offensive defenseman. So now, hypothetically, we should be able to get that goalie that we want, who should be a high elite goalie, which is really nice. Obviously, we have a medium elite goalie prospect, but it's good to have a couple of them just in case. We could easily use them as trade bait as well if we need to at some point. And then, if you can see here, yeah, he's literally supposed to go right around that spot. So we got a chance now to probably get Zachary Pratt too, which is going to be nice for defensive future. So I think it's a good little lateral move. Obviously, giving up picks of the future kind of sucks, but at the same time, it gives us some guys to at least build our prospect pool around for the future, because obviously at some stages, team's going to start to fall off quite a bit. So there's that. Let's see the rest of this top 5 of the draft, and then we'll simulate to our pick at, we don't pick till 28th. Oh, I didn't even realize that, or else I might not have tried to trade for a second rounder, because that goalie literally might go a spot before our pick. Is there any way I can move up one selection? Probably not. Oh man, I didn't even realize that. I thought we would be picking earlier than 27th. Ooh, Vancouver wants to move 25th. Maybe we could try and work something out with them. Let's see. So if we give you 28 to move up a couple spots so we could solidify and get that goaltender, would you be okay with taking somebody on our roster here? We don't really have a lot I could throw to them. I could give them Cizikas, but he's got a good chunk of value. Part of me is thinking about moving like Sam Bolduc in the deal, but I'm not too sure. As Gavin McKenna goes to the Flyers to play with Michkov, that's going to be great. But yeah, we need to try and find a way to make a deal here with the Canucks for number 25, and hopefully we still get that goalie. I didn't even realize that was going to end up happening. So hopefully we could swing a deal here. So 28th. I could throw in future picks, later picks too if I wanted, but I think obviously moving a player here would make more sense. Those guys are pending free agents, so it doesn't really matter. Wallstrom, I don't think adds that much value. Braden Pahal might actually work in this type of deal. Yeah, Pahal could work. He has a little bit of value, but I'm not too sure if it's enough. But Sam Bolduc, that's where I'm thinking about moving Bolduc. I do like Bolduc. The chemistry doesn't work that well there on that top six pairing. He was really good defensively for us. But maybe this is another move that has to happen because he's going to eventually get paid a good chunk of money. That looks like too much value now going to them. So maybe I could just get away with somebody else instead, like Pahal. So if I throw in Pahal and 28th, would that work to move up 3 spots? Yes, it would. Okay, I'll definitely take it. I mean, I don't know of how long Pahal would have been with this team for, but we move up 3 spots by moving out just like a depth defenseman. So I will definitely take that, and hopefully that solidifies us getting that elite goaltender. Will be interesting to see if we do get that guy. I think he's definitely going to be a high elite, so I think it will definitely be a good move for our team. Obviously, elite goalies are kind of a crapshoot, so who knows how good he's going to assimilate, but I think that's another solid little move for our team to make. So, anyways, now we could take a look at the rest of this top 5. So Detroit at number 3 will take Sundqvist, who's a medium elite defensive defenseman, 75 overall, so not even NHL ready, but he probably will play in the AHL, my guess, next season. Then you have San Jose at number 4. We'll take Mattinen. I don't even know. This guy might be a real person. I don't even honestly know. Pasi Mattinen, medium elite DFD as well. All right. And then at number 5, the St. Louis Blues take Belchets. So there's Ethan Belchets. Power forward. Really good shot power with him. So there is your top 5 of the draft. Let's simulate to our pick at 25, and hopefully the goalie's still there. Yes, he is, I think. Ooh, some medium top 9s were going before our picks, so yeah, this draft class isn't super good in depth, but we are going to be getting 2 good prospects here, hopefully, unless the AI decides to take them earlier. Yeah, it looks like a pretty basic draft. Like, early on it's okay, but then it definitely dips off in quality. Damn, Joe Ginla just missed going to Calgary. That would have been nice, but he goes to Chicago instead. All right. Now we could do what we wanted to do and take Solovyov. Obviously, there's a chance we could take somebody like Brady Smith, but he doesn't look that good, to be honest. Troy Patton doesn't look that great. This goalie should be a high elite. If he's a medium elite, that'd still be nice, but obviously I'm hoping for more of a high elite here. Looks like he had some good numbers in Russia, even though these are generated stats. But yeah, this guy might be the good predecessor for Sorokin. So Alexander Solovyov, please be a high elite goaltender. Yes, he is. I called it. High elite, 58 overall, butterfly goaltender. Interesting that he's a butterfly. But here is the guy that's going to hopefully take over for Sorokin at some stage. 58 overall is not too bad for an 18-year-old either, so yeah, I do like that we made those lateral moves to get this guy. Now we have a high elite and a medium elite goalie prospect, and they're both of Russian descent. So technically, we could replace our 2 Russian goalies eventually with 2 other Russian goalies. Or I don't know if Solovyov is Latvian or not, but something like that. I think regardless, we got ourselves at least our goaltending locked up for the future. Now, obviously, that we need to target other areas like defense and offense and stuff like that too, though. So that's where that offensive defenseman is going to come into play in the second round here. So let's assimilate to that pick and see if he's still there. I would assume he's still there. Yeah, I think he is still there, which is good. So we will be able to get him as well. So let's go to make pick here. And yeah, there he is. Zachary Pratt. Like that he's an offensive defenseman. He only has the top 4 potential, so it's not like he's an elite defenseman. But if he grows the right way, maybe he becomes like something way better than expected. So I like this a lot. So welcome aboard to Zachary Pratt, the offensive defenseman. 69 overall. Wow, that's a really solid starting overall for an 18-year-old too. Like, I don't know if we should sign him yet for the AHL. I'd probably leave that up to you guys. But this guy's AHL eligible. He looks like this already. Like, that's a really solid steal for the second round. So we're adding some really good prospects here. And I am very excited about the future once we actually start to tear down this team a little bit. Because we got some good pieces to build around. 2 good goaltenders. We have Rundell. We have Pratt now. There's a good future ahead for sure. All right, so there is that. Now we don't have a pick all the way to number 124. So I doubt at this stage we're even going to find anything good. But who knows, maybe we can find a low leader too. There might be an elite player here and also here. We'll take a look at both these guys. Yuri Sergeyev. Are we going to turn our team into like literally like a Red Army team or something like that? Sergeyev, I honestly have no idea. He's 5 years out, so he probably could be an elite player. Galiev is 4 years out, so he could be also a low elite, but he also could be like a low 9 or a bottom 6. Who has better attributes? 1D related stat. What about Sergeyev? 3Ds. Yeah, I might be leaning towards the center. Kirill Galiev. Yeah, let's go with Galiev here and see how good he is. Boom. Bottom 6 forward. Yeah, I knew we weren't going to be able to get stuff good. Like, there's literally 7 Ds already going in this draft. In the AHL top 6. God damn. Yeah, this is a really weak draft in terms of depth. I can't wait till we get to those drafts where we're going to be finding low elites in like 4, 5, and 6, and 7. That'll be nice. All right, well, Galiev is okay, but he's probably not going to develop really that great. Like, he has okay shooting. Like, maybe he can become okay at the AHL level, but he's not insane. Round number 5, and we have 6 and 7 still, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Nokalainen could be another elite goalie prospect, but at this point, I don't need more goalies. Aside from that, Lilia, I don't know if he's real. He's 19 years old. 5 years out. Let's just sort and see if there's any guys that could be elite here. There is this 3-bar low elite guy, maybe. He's not projected to go till maybe next round, but I'm going to take him already. Seth Osgood, let's just take you. Low top 6. Damn, that's not great, but maybe he could develop. You never know. So there is Seth Osgood. And then we have our last 2 picks of the draft here. But at least it was a good draft early on. At least we made some good moves to get ourselves that elite goalie and also a good offensive defenseman. Hopefully future drafts are a little bit better in terms of depth, though. Solnishkin could be an offensive defenseman. Let's take a chance on you because you could be elite. Medium 7th. But he is an offensive defenseman. So just a depth defender. Nothing crazy. And our last pick of the draft is at number 220. Can we find anything crazy here? Probably not, to be honest, but you never know. Mikko Kiprusoff. So there's Mika Kiprusoff. There's his brother, which it was Marco Kiprusoff. And now there's Mikko. I think this guy has to be generated, right? It can't be the actual son of Mika Kiprusoff, right? If it is, though, that'd be actually kind of cool. Let me actually take a look if Mika Kiprusoff has a kid, because I don't think he does, but could be wrong. He probably does have a kid, but I'm not too sure if he would be playing left wing. Let's see. No, he does not. Does his brother Marco have a kid? I don't think so either. Let me take a look just for fun. No, they do not. I didn't even realize their father was a player too, I think. Jarmo Kiprusoff. He played only 3 games in the SM Sarja, which is, I guess, similar to the SM Liga back in the 70s. So, Kiprusoff's kind of interesting, but let's see if there's any other guys that could be elite here. In terms of attributes, none of those guys seem crazy good, but Afanaganov might have a B-related stat, but a weakness in character. He's 19. I'd probably prefer to go with an 18-year-old, so we'll go for Samuel Galvin here. I don't even know if this guy's real or not. He's from Norway. He plays in Finland. We'll take a chance on him. Low bottom 6. At least he's a 56. That's not a bad overall, but definitely a really weak draft after the first 2 rounds for us. Yeah, we didn't really have any single hit outside of the second round, but that's okay. We're going to have drafts like that early on in this franchise mode. Eventually, we're going to have really good drafts, but Solovyov and Pratt, very excited for them. Galiev, Osgood, Solnishkin, and Galvin honestly could be AHL players at best. I don't really know how they'll develop, but I'd say it's an okay draft for us, just because obviously we now have our goaltending tandem potentially locked up for the future after Sorokin and Varlamov are gone from this team. So there is that. Let's get to this re-sign stage. I don't really know the cap situation with this team, so I'm a little bit worried that we might not have a lot of cap space, but we'll get to that in a second. I guess we'll re-sign all our scouts for the time being, but obviously next episode we could bring in some good scouts, because that's something we need to look into doing, because our current scouts are definitely not the best, I would say. So we'll definitely look into some better scouts for next episode. We could always look into making some coaching adjustments, but I think our current head coach is good. It's just more obviously about maintaining a roster and then also kind of weaning in some younger options, like getting Ferndale more into a top 6 type of role would be good, I think. So I think letting go of Anders Lee is something we're probably going to do in this episode, likely. Okay, so that's good in terms of the scouts. Any coaches I got to bring back? Nope. All right, re-sign stage. How much money do we have to re-sign these guys? 31 million. That's not that bad. But when you think about it, all these RFAs are going to need money, which is quite a bit. And then UFAs, Bjorkstrand's the big one. I don't really care to bring back Lee, Pajot, those type of guys. But, yeah, Oliver Bjorkstrand, I think, is the top priority in the UFA department. For sure. So I think first and foremost, let me see how much goalies do we have in our system. We have Sorokin, Varlamov, Skarek, and we already have like Tikin and Lennox technically too. So I am going to let go of Marcus Hogberg. He's not really much of anything anyways, so that's okay to let go of him. Between these goalies, I'll definitely hold on to Skarek. I think he's still probably looking for a one-way deal though. Nope, he's looking for two-way. Let's just give it to him. I'll take a two-way deal. I don't really think Tikinen's going to be much of anything. I would probably prefer to hold on to Lennox because he's younger. Obviously, we do have goalies that are currently unsigned. Like, I could sign Kudobin for the AHL next year, but I might want to wait a year just to make sure first and foremost. So I think I'll sign Lennox again on a one-year deal. Yeah, that's fine with me. And I think I'm going to let go of Tikkanen, even though he's an RFA technically. That way we free up some roster spots, because next season for sure, Kudobin will be in the AHL. Solovyov probably won't be unless he's developed a lot during the season. So there's that. I don't know yet if I should sign Pratt. I want your guys' still opinion on this. Should we sign Pratt? I mean, he's got a great starting overall. He could probably be pretty good at the AHL level, but will it stunt his growth or not? So we got to make some decisions with these type of unsigned guys if we want to sign any of them or not. You can see we definitely don't have the best prospect pool at the moment, but we're starting to at least get a bunch of prospects for the AHL. So I think Pratt could get signed, but want your feedback on that. In terms of our RFAs, let's get through the bottom of this list first. We could probably let go of these AHL bottom 6 forwards for the time being. I could fill them out at some point. So like Tice Thompson and stuff, I don't care too much about. These other guys that are like 70 plus overall, I'll give you guys one-year deals. Sure. Just to fill out the roster a little bit more. They all want like 1 year too, which is good because obviously I would prefer to let these guys go to free agency at some stage. So Maggio wants 2 years. We'll give you 2 years because you're 23 only. Liam Foudy is like a career depth forward, so we could bring him back as well. He'll already accept. That's good. Wallstrom I'll bring back as well. He could be an NHL depth forward or an AHLer. He does want a one-way deal, so that's an interesting one. I might qualify him a bit. Dufour wants only a two-way, so you know what? That's good for me. David Gustafson, I did really like his play after we claimed him on waivers, so we will also go... Ooh, he wants also one-way. All right, that's interesting. So the rest of these guys are going to want one-way deals, so I'll come back to them in a second here. In terms of these other guys here, I could let go of some of these older type of guys like Hutton and Chalowski for the time being. And then, yeah, I think we got to let go of Lee and Pajot at least. Craig Smith I could let go of as well, and we could just bring him back if we want to. Bjorkstrand I think is the top priority here. So, Craig Smith, you were actually pretty good for us, I would say. 14 points in 41 regular season games. And then in the playoffs, and damn, I want to go down here. 3 points in 7 games. I think he was really good. I would bring him back, but he's going to be on the decline. So for the time being, we're going to let him walk. Between Pajot and Lee, like I said, I'd probably let go of both of them. What are they asking for at the moment? 2.65. That's not too bad for a third-line center, but at the same time, we probably want to start getting a bit younger, so we could probably find a replacement for that third-line center spot. Trying to think, what do we look like down the middle right now? Barzal's usually a winger, so it'd technically be Horvat, Nelson. Cizikas would jump into that spot where Pajot currently is. And then Gustafsson could be the fourth-line center. Or we could use Gustafsson as the third-line center to replace Pajot. So, yeah, I think JG's got to go, unfortunately. At his age and stuff, I think, obviously, I'd prefer Gustafsson in the lineup. So, we are going to let go of JG for now. We could bring him back. Anders Lee and Oliver Bjorkstrand, like I said, I think it makes sense for us to let go of Anders Lee just because of the emergence of Rundell. Since technically we use Duclair more as a right winger, I think Lee would probably... Actually, Duclair could play on the first line still as a left winger, I guess. But technically Bjorkstrand also plays left wing. So imagine Bjorkstrand is the top line left winger. Frundell's the second line left winger. Let's see. Frundell's listed as a third line checking forward, 81. Yeah, I think he could easily be more of a second liner almost next season. Like, technically, Lee's a third line scoring forward. But we could always find cheaper replacements in the free agency. And some of these other guys, like, I could use Vetrano as a left winger if we really want to. So, I think we are going to let go of Anders Lee. I know he's been here for a long time, and some of you guys who've been our Islanders fans might want him to stay here for a long time. I think letting him go is probably okay with me for the time being. We could bring him back, but I think for the time being, I think it's a good little move for us to save up some cap space. And then Oliver Bjorkstrand is somebody I would really like to hold on to if we can. 4 years at $7.25 million. That's pretty expensive, but he doesn't care about any clauses, which is nice. 4 years would take him till he is 35. $7.25 million is quite a bit, but it is doable with our cap situation. Let me actually just qualify Wallstrom and qualify Gustafsson here. Sam Bolduc, what are you looking for right now? 1875. I'm going to qualify pretty much most of these RFAs again. Simon Holmstrom. 3 years at 1.725 isn't bad as like a bottom six type of option. You know what? I'm going to give that to Simon Holmstrom. I think that's an okay little deal. Perfect. And Romanov and Dobson. That's not a bad deal for Romanov either. Just under $5 million for 6 years. I actually might be leaning towards doing that for Romanov. What about Dobson here? Ooh, this is the one that we were looking at. And Dobson is going to cost a lot. He does want an 8-year deal, which is great to see. So he doesn't care about like going to free agency anymore. But he wants a full new movement clause for 7 years of those 8 years. Which is kind of nuts. But we are kind of building around Noah Dobson right now still too. 8 years would take him till he's 32 years old. So he wouldn't be necessarily too old. And a no movement clause for 7 years. That's kind of insane. But I think I might be willing to do that. If I lowered the price a little bit. Let's see if I could lower him down a bit to like that 1 bar part. Because at least I want to save maybe a little bit of money. Since we are giving him a big clause here. Like I'd have to get him to like waive that clause basically to move him out. Which is kind of insane. Maybe I could get him for 10.3, but I'm not too sure. Maybe I could get him for 10.3. I think that's not a bad price for a top 2 defenseman, to be honest. 10.3 for 8 years, like with the salary cap going up, it shouldn't be that bad. So, you know what? Let's offer that to Noah Dobson and see if he'll accept that. If he doesn't, oh, he does right away. Okay, I wasn't expecting him to accept it right away. 10.3 for 8 years. So we get him back. And then we still have Bjorkstrand to deal with, and Romanov especially. It was 4.9 something for him. It was 7 for him. That's going to be only $11 million. We could easily bring them both back in, and also these RFAs. And we should still have cap space for free agency. So I think I'm going to lean towards actually doing the Romanov deal too. He doesn't want a clause, and that's a cheap contract. We could easily move him around if we need to. So, yeah, let's lower this maybe a little bit so we could get to 1 bar below what he's asking for. So we could get it down to maybe like 4.45. Let's see if he'll accept that. He'll get back to us about it, apparently. And then Oliver Bjorkstrand, I think I'm okay with doing what he's asking for. Once again, he doesn't care about having a clause too, so we could easily trade him away if our team's starting to fall off. I think that's an okay deal. It's basically what like Anders Lee was making last season anyways. And he's a younger version. He's a much better offensive player than Anders Lee was. I think that's a good deal. I'm just going to lower this to 1 bar below it again, just because I think we could be able to get at least some money saved on these guys. So we'll talk him down to maybe like 6.5. See if he'll accept that. And he'll get back to us as well, okay? So if both those guys accept, and then our RFAs are the only ones that need money, we should easily have a good chunk of space to bring in some good additions. Like, I think getting rid of Pajot and Lee is a good thing for this team. As long as we could find some good younger replacements for them, basically. So let's advance today and see if those guys accept those contracts. Looks like somebody did, which is good. Yeah, it looks like Bjorkstrand re-signed on that deal, which is great. We got him for less than what he was asking for. So that's great. We just got to wait until all these scouts accept so we could actually see it. Romanov rejected. He doesn't like the dollar value, but Bjorkstrand does accept, which is awesome. So Romanov, I could just give him the 4.975 because, to be honest, that's not really that bad for 6 years on a guy that doesn't have a clause. So let's just give him what he's asking for. He'll get back to us, and that will drop us down to basically like $9 million in cap space to re-sign 3 RFAs who should be each getting below $2 million, in my opinion. So I think we should have some cap space at least to work with in the free agency department, which is good. So let's see if Romanov will accept his contract now. And he accepts. Perfect. So we're down to $9.37 million in cap space with 3 guys only to sign. Like I said, those guys should be under $2 million each, which means, let's just say they each get $1 million. We'll probably be down to like $6 million in cap space for free agency. So I think that's pretty good. Good, little tidy little work. Because technically, if we look at our 4 group now going into next season, we have currently Horvat and Barzal, Nelson, Bjorkstrand, so that's 4, Vetrano, Duclair, Cizikas, that's 7, 8 with Holmstrom, 9 with Rundell, 10 with Gustafsson. Dufour could even really play next season if we want to. Wallstrom is like a depth forward. Like, we could probably use some bottom 6 forwards if we don't want to be playing somebody like Dufour. But we have depth options, which is good already. And then from a defensive standpoint, we got Dobson locked up on 10.3, which is awesome. It is a bit scary that he's got a no movement clause kicking in, not this season, but in the next one. But I think it's worth it. Because obviously Pelech and Polak are going to come off the boards within the next number of years. So I think I'm okay with that. Our defensive core is pretty much set in stone for next season already. We just need like a depth defenseman to replace Pahal, who we moved. Because we're going to have Bolduc likely, Mayfield still, Romanov, Polak, Pelech, and Dobson. Alright. And then goaltending, Sorokin and Varlamov still should be the 1-2 punch. So I think we're pretty good. We probably don't need too much in free agency, but obviously we're going to take a look at what is available so you guys can give me some suggestions on what we could bring into this team. Because maybe we want to look for a replacement for Pajot as a third-line center, or we could use Matt Barzal as a center instead of a winger. We can make some decisions with that. So we're going to look at the free agent department, also look at the trading block, and I think at that point it'll probably be it for this episode. So first and foremost, let's actually look at the trading block, just because the trading block could be a little bit interesting. I don't know if there's anybody I would move, to be honest, but let's just see what's out there. So Jackson Lacombe, Ryan Strome, former New York Islander. Probably not a third liner, right? No, a second liner. Yeah, he would be a good replacement for Pajot, but he's more of a top 6 guy. Troy Terry's on the block. Damn, that's an interesting one, but we don't have any use for him. Robbie Fabry, Alex Killorn. Boston's got some prospects. Okay. Uka Pekka still on the block. Same with Connor Clifton. All right. Calgary, nothing. Carolina has Martinuk and Eric Robinson. Chicago, Soderblom, and Drew Comesso. I didn't even realize Drew Comesso's in the game and has a photo too, so shout out to Drew Comesso. I remember when he was in our Chicago series 2 years ago. What else we got here? Columbus has Hoffman on the block. He's pretty washed at this point. Was that the lowly? No, that was a low bottom 6. I remember a Blomstrand, but I'm not sure if that was in my draft to glory. I think it might have been in my draft to glory. Dallas, nothing. Detroit's got Kopp, Gustafsson, Comfer, Mata, and Hole on the block. Comfer would be a good third-line center, but at the cost of his money, I don't really know, to be honest, if he would be a huge upgrade over J.G. Pajot. Would he even be willing to come here? He would. I don't know about him, to be honest. Kopp would be a really good one, but he is a second-liner right now. I don't know if he would drop down to a third-line role, but he's also got a good chunk of value, which we don't really have that value to give up for some of those type of guys, unless we gave up a roster player for them. Wait, was that the Kiprusoff that was just in the draft? Yeah, it is. So there's Mikko Kiprusoff, who got drafted by the Oilers. That's kind of funny. So shout out to Kiprusoff. Florida, Spencer Knight's on the block. Damn, that's a pretty good goaltender. We don't need a goaltender, though. We got good goalies for the future, and we have good goalies right now. Gustafsson's on the block. Brodin as a defenseman, that's pretty nice, but obviously we don't really have any use for another good defenseman. We have use for a depth defender, but not a top 4, really. Unless we moved out from somebody like Pelech instead, which we could do. Adam Larson, Nate Schmidt, Jacob Middleton. Montreal, just Bjork, Barre-Boulet. Raphael Harvey-Pinard's not bad. Has like kind of like a depth forward. Doesn't simulate that well in franchise mode, apparently. Armia, Pizzetta. No, I don't need the Pez dispenser. Nashville, Brady Shea on a really bad contract still. Dante Fabro with 1 year left. Luke Shen. There definitely is some good defensemen out there, but it's not really something we're trying to prioritize as more defenders because we already got a good defense core. Trocheck, Kreider with the 1 year left. I know you guys still say, hey, we should bring in Kreider, but I just feel like that would just look so wrong. Ottawa has nothing. Philadelphia has Nick Seeler on the block. Pittsburgh has Mahura. San Jose has Kovacevic, I should say. LeBlanc on the block. That sounds like a bit of a tongue twister. Vadim Sharenko on the block. Solid future goaltender. Tampa, nothing really there. Toronto, same thing. Utah has some good defenders and players. Faravari, Hall, Marino, Lawson Krause, and Pia Suter. Some interesting players there for sure, but I'm not too sure if they're anything we need. Vancouver, just some prospects. Vegas has White Cloud still on the block. White Cloud would be great for the top 6. However, I still don't know how we could get out from Scott Mayfield's contract because it's a bit of a bad one, I'd say. It would be nice to have White Cloud in his replacement, but I don't think we're going to be able to get Mayfield to waive his no trade clause. And Winnipeg has nothing really either, so not really a ton, I would say, on the block. Maybe there's some better stuff in free agency, though. So let's take a look at the available free agents. And then I will look at, I think, also maybe the coaching stuff, just to see if there's any other coaches out there we could bring in to help with the team. But first and foremost, let's take a look at the best goalies available just for fun. Even though we don't need a goaltender, let's just see what there is. Cam Talbot's the best. So yeah, not a huge goaltender pool, which is fine because we have already a good goaltending tandem. The good thing about the goalies that we have in the system, the elite goaltenders, is our backup in Varlamov. I believe he's getting closer to his contract being done, and he could also retire soon too, which means it might be okay to bring one of those goaltenders in as a backup within the next few seasons if they develop fast enough. So I think it's good that we attacked a couple goaltenders early on. In terms of defensive players on free agency, Josh Manson's the best. Ryan McDonough, Jake Bean. There's some pretty good defenders out there, and a lot of them have a lot of interest in our organization too, which is good. But I don't really think I need any of these guys. I just need a depth defender, so I would probably look at somebody like maybe Andrew Peeke could be a good depth defenseman for us. What else is there? Troy Stetcher's not a bad option. Kale Fleury, Tobias Bjornfot. And there's some actually okay depth defenders. Joel Hanley. Okay. Logan Stanley even as a depth defenseman might not be that bad. In terms of forwards, I don't know how much forwards we really need, but on the right wing side of thing, Alex Tuch is the best available. He has full interest in us, probably because he just played for Buffalo. I don't really know. Matt Zuccarello there, Victor Arvidsson. There's actually some pretty solid right wingers. Same with Connor Garland. Obviously, Paul Murray is in free agency. Actually, wait a sec. Where was he last season? Because we did let him go. Columbus. So he signed in Columbus, had 38 points in 82 games, and I don't think they made the playoffs. No, they did not. So Paul Murray's back out there again if you want me to bring back Paul Murray, but I don't think we need to. In terms of like depth words though, there's like TJ Oshie. Like we could bring in some old vets if we want to, or somebody like Brett Leeson, for instance, who's a bit younger. In terms of left wingers, not that we need really left wingers that much. Brad Marchand is available. He's probably asking for a lot. 9.4 for a year is not bad, but obviously we don't have that cap space. Anders Lee has... we could bring back Anders Lee, but I don't think we need to. I really don't. I think I justified it well enough that we don't need him. Because left wingers are kind of an area where we already have a lot. Because we have guys that can play right side and left side. Like, we could take a depth forward. Somebody like Jacob Peltier is not bad. Young fourth line forward. I wouldn't mind having Peltier in. Because he's a good AHL player. 65 points last year. Hasn't done much at the NHL level yet. A little bit of durability concerns, right? Not in this game, apparently. They gave him 86 durability, but he's not been super healthy in real life. In terms of centers, Pajot is the best center available. So we literally just let go of the best center available. That's kind of interesting. But if we want a replacement for him, we could bring in people that are a little bit younger, like Wenberg, who's 2 years younger. Ryan Donato. Mikey Isemon's not bad as a fourth line guy. Energy type of player. Juuso Parsonen's not bad either, to be honest. 25 years old. I don't mind Parsonen as a player to pick up. He's kind of similar, I guess, in a way to Gustafsson, the waiver claim. But Parsonen had 21 points last year, which isn't terrible for the amount of ice time he probably gets. Also had 3 points in 7 playoff games, which is okay. Yeah, Parsonen might not be bad for a bottom 6 role with this team. Alright. There's also like Jack Drury too. So there's some options out there for sure. Alright, final thing. Let me take a look at the coaching stuff for a second. I don't know if we really need to change our coaching staff that much because obviously we did bring in a new head coach last offseason. I think our coaching staff's okay. So I don't think we're going to make any adjustments there too much. In terms of the scouts, obviously, like I said, we could replace some of these scouts if there's good ones out there. So let me just take a look if there is actually. Oh yeah, there's a lot of new good scouts out there. A lot of ones in the A minus range. So we're definitely going to probably fire most of our scouts, especially the C-rated ones. And obviously, I'm going to have to do a lot of work in terms of rejuggling where they are located. But I think we'll definitely have a much better results in terms of what the draft classes are looking like in the near future. So there's that. And I think we're pretty much done with this episode, guys. So that is going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to free agency. We might bring in some new faces to the team. We might make some trades if you guys saw anything out there, which honestly, I have no idea if I would make any trades with the amount of clauses we have to deal with at the moment. But I think our team is looking good again going into next season. And hopefully, if we find a nice solid offensive piece, maybe that could help us in terms of a better playoff run this coming season than this last one. Send anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.